Imagine you're in a 5-person group chat, and 3 of those people are artificial intelligence. That's a tool we're building, and while it seems kind of gimmicky, or you may not see the direction, I promise you this concept, this start of a fundamental tool, will absolutely change every single industry that you know, from corporations to coding to education. Now, before I explain what actual details of that tool is, I want to explain the process of how I got to building it, and actually how I now have an entire team dedicated to creating this tool. After sitting there and using AI in a bunch of different environments, from freelance writing all the way to concepts of academic writing, and even now in Python programming, I found that there's a lot of value in AI. Eventually, I started to notice that not a lot of other people saw it, or at least not at the time that I was using it, which is now almost 2 years ago. I would be sitting in class with professors, I'd be doing projects with them, and often I would hear just these single statements, and even to this day, I'm still hearing them from many professors. Oh, I don't see how it can help me. It's too much effort. Oh, it's not human enough. Or, yeah, I think it's cheating. Or even from, there's no way AI could do that. Or another concept, which I speak about in another video where I respond to a Wall Street Journal article, where some professors were saying that it devalues their years of hard work and dedication, and that it devalues other people's hard work and dedication. The problem is a mindset shift there. I was noticing that this was a mindset issue, not a problem with AI, not a problem with the future and technology or their academic expertise, but a problem with an understanding about how their academic expertise and how AI come together. And it just bothered me. It was such a problem to the aspect that I really wanted to find solutions and share it with them. And that's what I started doing. I started using it more with the professors. I told them I would be using it on projects, and I would outline everything I was doing. I would show in front of them. I would show them that I'm not using it to do the project faster. I'm using it to do the project better. Now, I go into this concept a lot more in another video, which I'll put right here, where I talk about the mindset shift of using AI. But to give you a quick overview and understanding of it, here's a thought experiment, right? Imagine you're sitting there and you are an engineer. You are someone in the math department, something like this, right? When you spent time learning math and exploring it and you're dedicated to it, you learned the stuff that you could do with a calculator despite having a calculator. You learned the theories, the fundamentals, the expertise. You became an expert in that type of math because you needed it, you wanted it, you liked it. Now that you have become the expert, you use a calculator to expand on those abilities, to make them faster, to do things that you don't need to know how to do so that you can do things that you are the expert at, right? People who didn't have a calculator before could still kind of do what you're doing today, but realistically, it was only the top tier experts, right? In order to code the NASA trip to be able to go to the moon, many people needed to be able to sit there and do pages and pages of handwritten code. Now, you can kind of have, instead of that high-level, top-tier PhD graduate, you can have a master's student kind of do some of that, right? You don't really need one person handling those simple calculations. You can have a computer do a lot of that, which then gives you time to do much more expansive technology. Now, the stack of crazy paper code expert is working on something completely bigger, like landing a rocket back on Earth that we see with SpaceX. That wouldn't have been possible had a tool not been created to make what the experts were considered the hardest thing easier. It didn't make it so that everyone hit the same bar. It made it so that the bar was lowered and now there was a new type of expert, right? AI is doing the same thing, but in a different way. That engineer I spoke about at the beginning can now write amazing papers. He doesn't need to know the time or the effort to take to writing a good paper from an English or a political science perspective, but he may need to use the output or help his actual proposal or concept when he's giving a presentation. And so now he can do what used to be considered only a graduate or an expert could do in writing, and add it and supplement what he is an expert at to make it even better, right? You're able to do multiple things. To kind of break this down even further, because maybe this allegory is missing some people, you don't need to be an expert at computer programming to be able to use a computer. That used to be the case. In order to set up a computer before Microsoft or Apple or any of this operating systems came out, You used to have to know how to code your own bash and be able to understand the concepts of assembly language and maybe even machine language. And that was just to be able to get the computer to then do whatever it is you were trying to do with the computer, right? It used to be particle scientists were the only ones using the internet, right? They had to be able to set up, have their own structures. Eventually, people made better tools structured around this concept of the internet to be able to make it easier for other people who weren't experts in it to use it. And now, well, I would argue the internet has allowed us to do a lot, and you don't need to be an expert to use it. Being an expert means you can use it better than other people, but that is not always needed. And that's what I'm trying to explain here. While yes, it is true that using AI to do a specific thing and not learning how to do that thing at the fundamental level might hurt you, it might make you stupider, it might make you less intelligent in whatever field that is. In actuality, most people who are using it, most people who are trying to learn in that field are going to learn what they need to learn because they're excited to. That's all about passion. That's why you should be following your passions. You shouldn't be following your passions because it's going to just make you happy. Happiness is important. It's also because if it makes you happy, you are that much better at it. When you are passionate and excited and happy to do something, you are going to make way more value out of it. That's a life skill. That's not even an AI or a company thing. That's a mindset that you should have. Before I get too off topic, take that idea and apply that to how AI is working. Yes, across the board, if it's not applied well, students are going to learn less. That's what happened with Google at first. Students were just picking random articles and throwing them onto a paper, and then they weren't doing the work to research. They were letting someone else research them. So what did teachers and educators have to do? They didn't say, oh, I don't want to learn the internet. I don't want to figure out how to do that. I'll just stop my students from using it. They did it first, but then they realized, well, I kind of like how to use this. They saw the value in it when it was used right. And it wasn't just that, oh, well, this is, it's a fundamental flood. We're going to have no choice. Like, we're going to have to accept the internet. While that was true, that wasn't the motivation behind learning how to use it. The motivation behind learning how to use it was seeing that there was more to it than what they saw. And that's what we need to do with AI. You need to learn how to use it, where to use it, when to use it, and then you can decide to use it or not. It's not saying you have to use AI. It's saying you have to learn, understand the concept, and then share that concept to your students. I've talked with deans, with professors all over in very specific settings that have seen this concept. In fact, I'm training the son of one of the political science deans at the college that I'm going to on how to use AI properly. And she had her son in her class and was grading him harder than everyone else, and then knew he was using the AI and graded him even harder. And she came to me and said, this is valuable. He's using it the right way. His papers are good. They're his own tone. He knows what he's talking about. If we can teach them how to use it this way, if I can understand how to use it this way, we are adding value, not taking it away. This is coming from personal experience. This isn't some random thing I read online or a statistic in a peer-reviewed article. While I think that's important, and I've got plenty of those, this is an actual real conversation and a real situation that I have been personally putting effort into, that I'm seeing that value. So after seeing all of this, after hearing all of these problems and seeing this situation arise and seeing that teaching and sharing and using these tools is the only way, the only solution forward to this problem of integrating AI, not just into education, but every concept and community around, or not integrating it, right? Deciding when you don't want it. It was all around educating educators, right? I could teach 1,000 students how to use AI, but then another set of 1,000 students are going to come in and another set, but that same teacher will be there. If I can educate, if any of us, if you yourself can educate yourself as a teacher, you will now be able to educate thousands of others who will then educate more. That's what makes networks so important. That's what made Facebook so successful, is that people were able to network with each other organically. Organic education, organic transfer of information was the goal behind this entire thing. And what is this entire thing? What is this tool that I'm creating? What is this network that I'm creating? Well, I've been working on it for quite a while, and I've been very fortunate to have an amazing team to work on it with me, and it's called the Quantum Quill. Now, as of the recording of this video, I have not officially launched this. It's actually going to be launched in the next 10 days, and I'm going to be launching it at one college. But the goal is to have it free, open source, a network, a connection of people to be able to use these tools, educate themselves on it, because the value that will come from that is absurd. And I will explain further later on. So I'm going to highlight what the main problem is, the problem of perspective. Right? As I was explaining, I heard educators who were trying to figure out how to integrate AI into the classroom, whether it's the students use it or them using it. They feared how it was going to impact their professional value. Is it going to affect how they get grants, how they do research, any of this? And they're all reasonable fears. They also had a hard time using these tools or getting access to it, right? Many people are still on a wait list to get access to GPT-4, which is my personal favorite for using in academic articles. You can actually get it to be useful in a non-devaluing way. So on top of this, a lot of the AI tools that are out there are specific through K through 12. And while they're useful, they're amazing, they're kind of gimmicky when it comes to a college professor. Many college professors, especially private college professors, are trying to do things well above beyond the generic curriculum, the generic classroom, and they're also trying to publish articles at the same time. They're also trying to have these access. So they're not able to sit there and use these tools in the right way. And even further, and this is something I learned recently from one of my professors, if you're going to keep tenure as a professor at many schools, you need to always be outputting a paper. You need to be outputting 3 published papers a year, or else you're going to lose tenure. And I realized that that's impossibly hard without AI. But with AI, that would make it 10 times easier. Or if you don't want AI to touch any of those published papers, at least you can get those done. And now you can explore what makes you happy. You can use AI to quickly make papers that is your happiness. You as a professor, you as an educator, you as someone who really wants to be a writer and published and understood, even in your areas where you didn't have time or you didn't really see that you could have put the time in, now you do have the time. Now you can explore that passion, and I would argue those papers are going to be better than the ones that keep you hired. I have my own qualms with that whole tenure system. I understand maybe where it stemmed from. However, the actual change and adaptation to it, I'm hoping that these tools will expand. But we'll go more into the solution here in a second. Finally, there is no community. There's no place that a professor can log on to, and there's 7,000 other professors all talking about how they use AI in the classroom. There's a couple places, AI for Education, there's a couple communities here or there where, it's teachers. But again, you really need to be able to niche down for these type of questions. You need to be able to sit there as a history professor at a private college or as a political science professor at a public school. You need to be able to talk with other professors in that realm in your multidisciplinary field, also while simultaneously talking to other professors outside of that field. And that doesn't really exist in the collegiate aspect. On top of that, even if there is one out there that perhaps I haven't seen yet, most of the ones that I have seen don't have this wealth of access to information or their own tools dedicated to it that are easily part of it so that everyone's kind of on the same page anyway. That was the goal, is to give an opportunity, give a place for training, to shift the perspective of these problems and actually teach, show AI literacy, but to go beyond what all these courses and communities are doing. My goal and my team's goal is to go well beyond that. It's to actually sit there and say, okay, here's the tools now. Here's the possibility of what tools are going to be. How do you mold your classroom? How does education get changed, or how does it not get changed if AI is a fundamental in every classroom? Teaching how to use AI, teaching how to put it in the classroom is one thing, and it's useful and good to understand. But teaching and allowing in a place to speak on how these tools are affecting the classroom, affecting education, is way more important and far more integral to actually keeping education at a top level value, to raise that bar of where we are progressing. And that led to, creating even more advanced tools that are specific to collegiate levels. And that goes into the tool called Aduba, which I will explain later on in this video, and the quantum Quill tools such as just simple chatbots or even full prompts that I'm sharing with everyone. Again, these are all access and ideas that I'm trying to put out there while also still allowing for an entire collaborative hub, a place where those 7,000, 10,000, hopefully 100,000 doctors and professors can sit there and not be bothered by outside forces. It is simply them, people, one like each other, all talking about how it's affecting their classroom, how they integrated it, how they didn't integrate it, what tools they found, right? I'm not going to limit it just to my tools. I'm not going to say, oh, don't talk about other companies. I think the quote, and one of my favorite quotes, that people at the bottom compete, people at the top collaborate, is one of the most important things to understand at this moment. I'm not sitting here trying to compete with a whole bunch of other companies. Now, from a monetary standpoint, perhaps I may be, but from an actual value and expansion standpoint, the only possibility for success and progressive is by incorporating every idea and concept. That's the whole idea of this network in itself. So that was the goal, is to give AI clarity in teaching, create some advanced tools, and have a collaborative hub. How are we actually doing this? What does this look like? What is my team, which many of you will probably meet and see in future podcasts or webinars or concepts as time goes on. For now, keep them behind the scenes because I don't know if they want to show up in these videos or not. I haven't actually asked them, which is a good thing to ask in the next video. So we'll see about that. But just know they're awesome. I love every single one of them. Some of them are in the Marine Corps with me. Other ones went to high school with me. It's a brilliant team. I promise you, they make me feel like inadequate on multiple days. They're just every day working as hard as they can to the dreams they want. It's magical. But this team has been pushing these concepts to create something. So what's the details? How are we going to make money, right? Oh, well, this is a lot of work, a lot of things you're doing. How are you going to make money? Fair question. Well, I am giving it away for free. So what's the catch? Well, I'll go into that. There is ways I am making money off of this, but realistically for the next 2 years, I'm probably not going to. I'm not trying to. I want to take any funds or advertisements or sponsors or investors and dump it back into these tools, which I'll go into further detail here shortly. But let's say we are trying to say, okay, where is some money? Let's see where the money already is separate from my company, right? So if you were to look at the AI market, specifically AI in education, currently as of 2023 is over $3.9 billion. That's the market right now, just AI in education. By 2028, it's expected to have a 36% annual growth per year. It'll be over $19 billion. And some people are saying it's going to be even larger by 2030 into the $30 to $36 billion range. That's a very, very large market. Is it the largest market out there? Absolutely not. But is having a small market share of that market a couple $1 billion? 100% it is. And that's an important concept. That's a concept many investors or people who are very savvy into stocks and market shares might be more inclined to understanding. But for those of you who maybe aren't as privy to that, that shows that multiple companies can be in this space and still be profitable. There is money out there to be shared, to be moved around, to be used to continue this growth. On top of that, over 42% of that current $3.9 billion is higher education, right? So there already is a market existing for AI in education. The problem is it's focused more around solution and very specific tasks that have to do with the financial side or the college side or the course side, not the actual teachers and education side. And then finally, it's an important statistic to know that it's estimated around 60% of teachers have tried AI. It's probably more than that realistically, but I would say even of those 60%, and I'm sure or hoping some of you who have watched this have tried like ChatGPT 3 and realized it's not useful to you. Again, it's not completely useless. It's an amazing tool. It's powerful in its own right. But compared to tools that are available now, like GPT-4, Gemini's Bard, Anthropic's Cloud, the Cloud 2, these are all very powerful language models. It is an infant. It is so much less powerful and capable than what you can do with some of these now. And again, that's part of the education, is that some people just don't realize that, many teachers. So they might have tried AI and just said, no, it's not useful. I don't see any point. And I'm trying to show people that, no, there very much is a point. You just haven't seen it yet, or you haven't been given the opportunity to see it. So what are the details behind this community? Well, first and foremost, the base layer of everything, this actual dynamic online community, is a place where you can actually share resources. So there's an app already available and a website. I have not officially launched it as the recording of this video because I'm waiting until January 16th. On that day, I will be talking and speaking to many professors, and I will be introducing it to the college that I'm currently going to and teaching at. as a beta test, as an opening program. So all of those professors there are going to have complete and utter free access to it short term. I'm hoping for them to enjoy it, to explore it, to say their own things, their own concepts, share their ideas, and see how far we can really take it, get them as they're there. From then on, I will start allowing applicants in and other people and users to use this community and these tools. However, I need to be careful how quickly I do that. As of right now, it does cost me a pretty penny to be able to run all this, but it's more than worth it in my eyes from both a avenue of venture and investment, but also from the value that imagine 200 professors or even 100 professors and doctors all in one room talking about how to use AI. And any time of the day, they can add something to that discussion of this room. And they're able to mold and use the tools within this community to create better tools or better outlooks on it. Now imagine it's 7,000 professors. Now imagine it's 200,000 professors. Imagine it's the 3.9 million teachers that are across the United States right now trying to integrate AI into higher education or education in general. That is a wealth of knowledge, of information, of data, of concepts that would be invaluable to hundreds of people, of companies, of professors, of AI developers, everyone around. So that's a huge concept of what I'm trying to do here as well, is by connecting these network of people, value will just inherently flow from it, right? I'm not entirely basing it on the fact of just natural power growth. Obviously, I have other things that might hold it up and spike it, but that is the strength of this. That is the power of this, is community. Being able to sit there and argue and say not only how you're using AI in the classroom, but how you're not using it, right? By these teachers and professors working together and testing it and understanding, they're able to share and build off each other's work and say, well, this is how I used it, and I don't think it should be used here. Hey, guys, I actually did a study with my students and found that it's best to use it here and it's worse to use it here, right? This gives a community an opportunity to truly expand on what we're living in. Now, after the community, I also said that we have a tool. Now, the basic tool is just a simple chatbot that is directly connected to GPT-4, ChatGPT. So for those of you who do not have access to ChatGPT or GPT-4, we're going to be giving access to it. That one, I'm probably going to have to charge a subscription for because realistically, it's going to cost me quite a lot of money per user to be able to run it constantly and let you guys have fun with it. But I'm going to do my best to, find ways to circumnavigate that and make it so it's free to most of the professors, at least the initial few that join originally. But on top of that, we're introducing something called Eduba. Now, Eduba is the cuneiform word for hall of scribes or hall of writers. It's a Babylonian term for how they explain their writing schools. For any professors out there who happen to be ancient Aramaic or ancient Babylonian and cuneiform experts, if I'm slightly incorrect in this, I'm sorry. I did my best in my research. I only know enough of ancient Aramaic and ancient cuneiform to be able to make a good judgment that this is what it meant. But if I'm incorrect, please correct me. I'll figure out a way. I'll probably keep the name, but that's the concept, right? I wanted to use something ancient to support what is something new. It's a fun, esoteric concept that I really love. And Eduba was, it just fit perfect. So Eduba is our in-house system that we're developing right now and testing. Essentially, it's a group chat for AI. Imagine for a moment you're in a chat, whether it's in WhatsApp, text message, iMessage, whatever it is, but this is the application and you're speaking with another professor. And I show an example of one we've actually used in our very own prompt engineer version of it, where Dr. Lovelace and Dr. Turing, they were sitting there trying to create a new political philosophy class. They wanted to take Eastern and Western thought and try to make a curriculum around this class. It was going to be a 3-month class. They wanted to see how it was rolling. And so, as you can see, there's a conversation here where they're going through about including certain figures and just talking. Now, usually, after having these ideas, you would then have to make a very large prompt and make it add your own concepts and ideas into it, and then fill it into ChatGPT or something like this, or write it out yourself while also balancing all your classes and everything to be able to come up with a curriculum. But with this, the AI is already involved in the chat. Finally, at the very end, when they've had a very normal conversation, they simply ask the chatbot that's already in the chat and is specific at building curriculums to build them one. And it reads through the entire chat and builds it. Without any prompting whatsoever, their own conversation has now become the prompt. It outputs an entire 3-month long explanation and outline for this curriculum. Now, it is still very basic. This was a very basic conversation, so it has a very basic output. The longer this conversation would go on, the more details, the better this output would be actually. In most other cases or older cases with other algorithms and older technology, the more specific you got, the worse the output was. This is the opposite. The more specific, the longer the conversation, the better that this language model can predict what the best output would be for that conversation. So it goes through and it gives this conversation. But after that, it's not done. You're still in the group chat. So the two doctors then speak and they say, well, you know what? I like this about the syllabus. I would rather add these authors. Let's change this. And they have a conversation about the syllabus that was just outputted in front of them, what they liked, what they didn't like. And again, without any prompting, simply through natural conversation, they ask it and say, hey, what do you think about our thoughts? And it outputs an entirely new, more in-depth, focused outline based on that original one and their conversation after and about it, giving actual authors, Lao Tzu, all these ideas, going into political Western thought, Eastern thought, and it is aligned with a database that already exists and is able to output this data. Now, this is specific to political science and Western thought, but the AI is not. And what I mean by that is it's able to sit there and be multidisciplinary. This could be any two professors and any two concepts in any two areas, and it will be able to at least be at the teacher assistant, if not postgraduate level with information and recommendations. Again, you're not replacing a professor from doing it. They still need to look through it. They need to have the conversation. You're adding another collaborator without actually having another person there. Now, you'll notice at the beginning of this video, I said 5 people in a group chat. This is just a 3-person group chat, and you already have a massive increase in its ability, and this is only one concept, curriculum building. But imagine you have 2 more AI, one that is very good at grant writing, or another that's very specific with grading and understanding. You now add those 2 into the chat, and you can ask them to look at your paper and say, well, if we were to get grant funding for this class, what would we need to do? And that AI would output something and give its opinion. And then the other AI that's in the chat could read all of that between the curriculum AI chat, the actual 2 doctors speaking, and this GPT that's outputted a curriculum itself, and be able to give you an even better opinion on its own direction and perception and expertise into the group chat. And then you're creating this long-form conversational chat between multiple people, multiple AI, all conglomerating into a much faster workflow and a greater output, to the point where PDFs are being generated by the AI at the same time the doctors are speaking, and they're able to essentially, in a 30-minute conversation, have 3 weeks worth of work done, or 2 weeks, while still being able to do everything else they need to do, and then expand on it with their own personal knowledge. This allows you to make a more personal class, really dive into those curriculums, create grants to get money, create papers, work collaboratively. On top of all of that, every conversation that these 5 individuals, or 2 individuals and 5 agents, that's what these AI models are called. They're agents of a larger model, which I talk about in another video if you want to hear the details on that, are able to do. But imagine this at a larger scale. Imagine all that data and conversation that is then getting fed back into that AI system. It is now learning off of all of these conversations. So now those 2 professors have 10 conversations between them. So imagine 200 professors using this. Imagine 7,000 professors using this. All of their conversations are able to be fed back into this machine learning model and making it exponentially better with every conversation. We're able to mold it, move it, take that data, and make a better model for these professors. So as time progresses, it becomes exponentially better, more collaborative. And here's the important part of why I'm keeping it at the collegiate level. One of the biggest issues with data sets for these AI systems out there is that it's getting flooded with data that they don't need. Data that might actually change the system. The reason you need to prompt GPT-4 so specifically is because it has to filter through so much data. Your queries, your prompt, your words that you're asking to the program have to be so specific and so well-tuned to get the data you want out of it. We're circumnavigating that by making the data very specific to the college level. by cutting out all of the other data that's coming into the system, but still having access to that data if it needs it, you're making that model smarter. You're making a model trained at the college level that isn't getting diluted by biases and shifts and inaccuracies that would not be at the college level by everyday people using it to generate pictures of cats. Not saying you shouldn't generate pictures of cats. I love doing that. But realistically, that does hinder the model's ability. There's many people complaining that the model has become less smart, not as capable. I don't believe it's true. I think that it just takes more effort to make it smart and capable, to put the right queries in. But it is true that before, when I used to ask it questions, it was much more capable at focusing on those questions. But now, since there's so much data, so much it learned off of, it's gotten to the point where you have to tell GPT-4 what time of day it is, how it's feeling, its role, all these other concepts to be able to get a better response from it. So if we're able to train it specifically off of these college conversations, it will specifically be good at college conversations. And we don't want it to be good at anything else until later on. Now, you might be wondering, are there any other people doing this? This sounds like such a novel idea. And to an extent it is. There are industry competitors out there like Udemy, edX, Khan Academy, all of these individuals who are offering courses on AI and have AI tools for teachers themselves. And they are quite awesome, I will say. Go check them out if you need to use them. Some of them are free. Most of them are paid for. In fact, most of the courses on average around $60 to $70 just to be able to have a basic understanding of these AI models. And even then, like I said, they're teaching you how to use the tools that are available, not explaining how those tools are changing the classroom. And they're about an hour and a half. Also, they're focused on K through 12. Some of them might be focused on college, but it's minimal at best. And a lot of the people making the classes haven't spent a lot of time in academia to really give anything of value. Not to say that these aren't good courses. Like I said, many of them are solid, but it's a hit or miss, especially for high-level experts. On top of that, they don't talk about the history of it, the expanse of it. They might go into the 1950s, but they're missing the actual ideas, the logic, the shift of education and technology from printing presses to the 1630s to tablets to all of these thematic connections that are important at the college level, but I guess aren't as important at the lower levels, the K through 12 levels. Further, there are other online communities, but most of them, again, are focused on the previous things I just talked about, K through 12. They're not focused on the actual expansiveness of raising the bar, the mindset shifts, right? That's the important part. I'm not sitting here hopping on a trend of AI and selling you AI. I'm trying to help what has always been here, which is the industry of education. That's what I'm understanding. I am looking at education and showing it how to integrate AI, not looking at AI and showing how to education to integrate into it, if that makes sense. That's an industry that will always be around and will always have troubles, and I would love to be a part of for the rest of my life. Finally, there is one website that I found called Character.ai. They are doing group chat AI, but it's molded into a different direction. It's more about having a conversation with different AI that talk and speak with each other. And I believe that the people on that team have the same vision I do. In fact, I really hope I could work with them and reach out to them. And if anyone watching this happens to know them, tell them I'm all ears. I'm probably going to reach out to access their API because I have a sneaking suspicion that that team has done amazing work and would love to collaborate with me, or at least I hope so. I'm just trying to expand this business, this idea. And they've made some decent directions, but again, it's not focused on college, and they're allowing all of their system to learn from other people doing random things, historical figures. Elon Musk is a version of an AI you can get on there to talk to Albert Einstein. And like I said, it seems gimmicky. I see the direction they're going, but it's not the direction I would choose for my data and my concepts, but it's still brilliant nonetheless. So other than that, there's not too many competitors out there. This is a realm, a space that people aren't in. And when I say competitors, I really want to say people that are future collaborators. We're all collaborating to extend into a market. And some people are competitors because they want money, they want this. And like I said, I'm as human as the rest. Money sounds amazing. I would love to make more money. I've learned how to make money with AI, and I've had videos showing people how to make money with AI. But at the end of the day, I want to see how to raise the bar in everything we do. These group chat AIs are more than just for educators, though. I want you to picture for a moment you're at a programming company, or you're at a company that requires a lot of paperwork and project management, and you have two of your best project managers in a group chat together, And then you have an AI that's good at SQL, which is a type of database programming. Or you have another AI that's really amazing at creating graphs and charts or Excel sheets. And then you have another AI that's really good at writing or explaining PowerPoints. Just by those two top executives, project managers, having a conversation, they're able to generate everything that would have required multiple other employees. Now, I know your red flags might be kicking off by that saying, oh, so you're just going to replace a whole bunch of entry-level people? No, that is not what I'm doing. What I am doing is saying those entry-level people could also have AI of themselves. So imagine you have a business with 5 people. Each of them have their own group chats with each other, right? So with 5 people, you technically have 10 group chats, right? 2 per section, right? And you could even have more than that depending on the order you put them in. But let's, for simplicity, say you have 10 different chats between 2 sets of 5, right? However way you want to mold that. Then within those chats, you have 3 AI each. And you could do 4, you could do 5, you could do whatever. I'm choosing 3 because mathematically and statistically, that seems the best amount for lucrative movement in conversation. And they're able to do all the things that a multi-100-person corporation could do. Before, it was challenging because it was hard to understand the interface with these AI, the actual output to be able to make them do that was hard. But by creating the tool that bridges the gap of what is challenging and what is needed is now implemented in there, you now have a 10-person corporation that has turned into a 50-person corporation virtually overnight, literally just by the introduction of this tool. Now take that even further. Imagine a 1,000-person corporation using this. You just took a 1,000-person corporation and turned it into a 10,000-person corporation, or even more. Technically speaking, it's exponential growth. You've created an entire new layer to progress and to expand and to mold and to understand and create value. Or vice versa. From a non-expansive and absurdity point of view, you can now downsize everything. We can now have hundreds of small businesses doing the capability of large businesses. Personally, that's my favorite idea behind it, is that we shift to a gig economy where each person has their own corporation or their own decentralized autonomous organization, if you like blockchain or something along those lines. And now you've created value and organization at a level that wasn't possible before. It literally could not be done, and now it is possible, and now every person can use it. Again, thinking down the line, that changes the game, that changes fundamentals, that opens up whole new realms of possibilities. Now, as I say in my last videos, this does not solve our problems as a society. This is not going to solve a lot of the major issues that we have had for millennia, between war, between hunger. It will make it easier and give us more solutions at which to solve it. But at the end of the day, those solutions will always need to be expanded and understood as we expand as well. So I'm not sitting here saying it's our savior. I'm saying it has the ability to do a lot of good. And if we ignore it, it has the ability to do a lot of bad. And I am appreciating that fact, and I am not denying that fact. But as I say in the beginning, to create the world you want, you have to try to create, not react. You need to be able to sit there and see what bothers you, see what problems are in front of you, and actually actively try to make something, not change something, make something that solves those problems or creates an environment where those problems no longer exist. That's a real solution. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So if any of you are watching this and have questions and want to be involved in this, I'm going to be posting this much sooner than I'll be launching the actual Quantum Quill, but you're more than welcome to sign up below and send an application in before I actually let you in. Please go ahead, reach out, any of that. And if you'd like, I hit a lot of concepts on the future government and the economy. I gave a link to a virtual nation article below, as well as a consciousness article I have written on Ada Lovelace and Descartes and all that jazz. And if you really want to see what some of my writing's about and what I do, go ahead and take a read. If you want to go and listen to some of my videos, go for that. If this is too long form for you and you're long formed out video, go check out my TikTok, my Instagram. I have very short excerpts that are a minute and a half long of these videos chopped up that make it easier to digest. And if that's even too short for you, well, just drop a like and comment. That's always appreciated. So, as always, friends, have a great day.